This will also give me a chance. There we go. Hi, welcome to Coffee with Vic. This is going to be a very, very short segment, but I just kind of wanted to throw out there the idea about the economy. We during this primary season coming up on the elections, there's so much dialogue, so much going on about what's good, what's bad, and you get news bites, you get you know a different opinion from Fox News and you get from CNN, and which are basically diametrically opposed. So each takes their perspective on everything. So I try to focus in on the news that I see and articles that I see that kind of really delve into the meat of what's happening versus just the superficial sound bites you tend to get on media. And that's still pretty much in print media today as opposed to television and everything. So grab your coffee here. I have my coffee. I'm drinking it. It's a very nice day here in Brighton, Michigan. We're expecting good temperatures and good day. A little hotter weekend hope coming up, but we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about our topic here, which is the economy. Right now, everybody's touting that we have a 4.1% growth rate. We have low unemployment. And because of that, everybody is and it's basically stated from the perspective of the administration, Trump's group, that everything is hunky dory with the world out there. But when I get out there and I kind of mingle in my little lounge and I have my Manhattan, or I talk with people wherever I happen to be, at a restaurant or airplanes or wherever that happens to be, I don't get the same picture. I'm asking people, are you doing better off than you were before? And so let me just kind of start this. I don't know if anybody's on here, but I'll throw this poll up real quick and we can see for a minute or two whether people are. Hey, Josh, nice to see you. I'm talking about the economy here, and I'm trying to get a sense of reality about whether people in the middle income class and the lower income classes are really better off than what's going on. So here's a poll right here. I'll pop this up. I don't know how many people. This is very short notice today. I really wasn't expecting people to come on board, but here's a poll. And I'm going to launch this poll. And basically, are you really financially any better off than you've been over the last 2 years? In other words, have you increased above your average normal increase? And has your income jumped 4.1 or better percent, so to speak? So let me launch that poll. You guys can take a few seconds here and I'll keep it up for about 30 seconds or a minute, and you guys can tell me whether or not you're in fact doing better off than you were in the past. And then I want to cover a brief article that was put out by CBS News. And it points out a couple of things I think we need to consider about the economy as we go in and start making choices about who we want out there in our offices, in Congress and Senate. And right now my big focus is forget about party and one, select good leaders, people who have morals and ethics and competence, and you know they're consistent about what they do, they're congruent about their messages, they're not attacking other people, etc. So that's part of what I look at when I'm voting, because I'm a non-party person now. But what I do know is I don't like who's in the presidency, and I don't like it how it's being run, and I don't like how Congress is operating right now. So I'm looking to make that change, and I can't make that change. There are not enough independents and people like myself who have a non-party preference who can make the change. So that only leaves one other group that would be different from Donald Trump, assuming Donald Trump's going to stay in office for the rest of this term. And that is to vote in a democratic way. It's not my favorite way to do this, but until we change the process in our government, and I don't think that's happening under Trump. I think Trump touted change, but I'm not sure anything's changing, for one thing, and then secondly, I'm not sure it'd be changing in the right direction. So, or what people thought change would be. So, I mean, if they're intellectually honest about it, you know, if you're trying to defend your vote last time, then that's a different story. But anyway, it doesn't look like anybody's going to take this poll, so I'll end it here. And there's the results of it. But what I want to do is go take a look at a brief article here. And I want to share this article with you. Hold on just one second here. Let's see. Let me go back here. Do this again. There we go. And let's go up here. There we go. That's what I'm trying to get to. And then I want to do this and kind of share it in a format where you can see it a little bit. Now, in this article, this is U.S. job growth slowed in July. Wage growth remains modest. And this is kind of what I want to address. I mean, I think this guy or whoever wrote this article, it could be a gal, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to see at the bottom. But I think this probably is a more reflective statement of reality. And he mentions, for example, that in July, the nation's unemployment rate was down. It went all the way down to 3.9%. And that's pretty low. He said, but on the other hand, hiring in May and June was even stronger than previously reported. 268,000, 248,000 jobs added, respectively. Consumers are spending freely. The economy expanded to 4.1%. Okay. And, but then we get down here to some reality. And so typically when the unemployment rate falls as low as it is now, the business raise wages more rapidly to attract and keep workers. And we hear this all the time. I hear this all the time. We don't have enough workers to do the jobs. Okay, well, you know, the problem is some of the jobs that are now open are not the high paying jobs. The people who became unemployed during the recession were making larger amounts of dollars than the jobs are offering right now. So those are the things we need to keep in mind when people say everything's going great. I'm not so sure that's true at all from that standpoint, you know. So when we look down here, typically when the unemployment rate falls, businesses raise their wages. That doesn't seem to be happening because the average wages were only increasing about 2.7% in July from a year earlier. The same annual place as the two prior months. Now, this is the chart I found interesting. These are all workers and non-supervisors. So when you look at supervisors and workers combined together on this light green line, you can see that in 2008, you know, hourly wages changed from the previous year. So from 2007, they were going up. And non-supervisors' wages were going up as much as 4% increase. And then during the recession, when the recession hit, obviously we saw a huge dip way down here to, 1% almost in 2013. So during this time when the recession was in full swing and the recovery was being processed and put into place, we began to see a slight increase in the recovery starting back in 2013 and 2014. It was up above 2.5%. Then it dipped back down in 2015, and from 2015 up through 2018, now we're beginning to kind of see a steady increase again, but it isn't an increase that has significant gain from prior to the recession. I mean, it's still way below where the recession was. So that's far basically. That's far from the 3.5%, 4% growth that occurred during the previous period. So, what they're basically saying now, on top of that, because the economy is growing and people have a little more disposable income, and people are spending more. Now, when we say people are spending more, I'm not sure the middle class is spending that much more, or the lower income class is spending that much more. But certainly upper income, 100,000 plus, you get out of that middle class range, 130,000 plus, it begins to make a difference. So what happens here though is the inflation rate picked up, reaching 2.9%. In June from a year earlier. That means that the adjusted, when you adjust for rising prices, the average hourly pay actually has declined a bit this year and 2018. So even if it were steady, but or it declined, then what we are finding is that the inflation that's going on, and that's the rise in every little thing you buy, your milk, your groceries, your avocados, your salads, your McDonald's prices, and everything's going up. You throw on top of that now, soon to be felt, the trade war issue, then all of a sudden that 4.1% growth is not being represented in wage growth and in the middle class and the basic worker group. And when you put inflation on top of that, people decline. I know if you live on Social Security like I do, okay, what's happening is I don't get 3% increases every year. Okay. You might get a 1%. And for 2 years or so, I got nothing. But inflation went up. Prices continue to go up. Gas was more expensive every year. Groceries were more expensive every year. Ticket movie prices have gone up every year. Hell, even Netflix and those places and Amazon Prime are raising their prices. But I'm not getting the same percentage of increase as they are percentage of price raising. And you got to remember, when they raise prices, when prices go up, that affects your net income, not your gross, not that gross before taxes and all that kind of stuff. It's your net income. It's what you bring home in your paycheck that you can spend. And those price increases are affecting that. So when you start backing all of that stuff out of this picture, all of a sudden, I don't think that middle class is doing all that well. I can now understand why I hear people saying, I'm not necessarily doing any better than I have in the past. And that makes a big, big difference when you're talking about, what's going on out there in the world. So I get the feeling I get the feeling that people are not taking the time to think through this issue of, is the middle class actually benefiting from this great economy? I think if we look at business, I mean, obviously, Apple hit $1 trillion. Amazon is going nuts. You know, the larger organizations, the people who have big corporations are benefiting. But us, the middle class, the people who are basically not there yet, we're not up in that $150,000 bracket. We're not seeing that. In fact, we may be a little net negative if you took a check register concept and started adding the price increases from, say, 2010 or 12 or anywhere in that range up until 2018. If you start looking at the price of milk and every item you buy in the grocery store, movie theater tickets, insurance, gas, car insurance, health insurance, even rent, and those kinds of things went up considerably. They began to erode that net income. So as you're out there thinking about, oh, the economy is going great, I want you to actually go back and intellectually be honest and evaluate, net, am I really much better off because of this fantastic economy? And yes, they are looking for people, but the jobs that they're filling are not those jobs that people used to have. You've got, I did a video a while back that showed this issue about middle class, where a guy was an automotive worker for General Motors up here in Detroit, in that area. This is now a security guard. He went from $40 an hour to $10 an hour. Okay, that's a $30 an hour difference. So those security jobs and food service industry and cashiers and those kinds of things are what people are really saying they need, or they're needing the highly technical things. And a lot of the people who were out of work were not trained to fill those. It's going to take time for them to fill those, even if they're competent enough to be able to fill a technical job. And we know that because when, Zuckerberg and those guys testified in front of Congress and started spurting out a whole bunch of information, it was absolutely clear none of the people in Congress who are supposed to be, knowledgeable and intelligent people could even relate to what they were saying. They would have had to have gone back and get totally re-educated. It was embarrassing to hear them talk about it. So that's not, it's going to, those things are taking time. And then on top of that, many of those things that are being looked at, because they can't find people, they're going to automation. And automation is beginning to put people out of work, which means they have to go back into technical training or go back to college or whatever and get reoriented to what the jobs are that they're looking for today, which are, medical technical fields, computer technical fields, etc. The concept of manufacturing parts. Manufacturing's growing a little, but not much. Most of that's automated today anyway. So I just wanted to kind of, put this out there, and then you can agree or disagree if you like. That's fine. But I would venture to say that most people in the middle class, if you sit down and started really figuring out price increases and those kind of things, everybody is still struggling a little bit under this economy. Now, big business, not the case. Big business is doing just fine. But as I can see it, I mean, they're growing like wildfire. You've seen profits like crazy, but I don't think they're reinvesting that money as strongly as it was proposed when this tax cut hit, that it was going to happen. You were going to see great gains. Well, by the way, if you took $1,000 and divided it by as a bonus and divided it before taxes, divided it by 2,080 hours of work hours, it adds up to being about $2.40 or $2.50 an hour a day. Or a day, which is not an hour. So you don't get $16. You get about $2.50 for that day. And then, by the way, if you took taxes out of that bonus, it's not that much. Now, you can't even buy a cup of coffee hardly anywhere for that today. So, these things that are being touted on the networks and the news and pushed by the administration, everybody, when you break it down and think about it and actually look at it and work on it and put it to your check register and ask yourself, am I still struggling? Or if I am better, am I just a little better, or I'm not really out there where I'm still ready to say I'm not one or two paychecks away from disaster if the car broke down or whatever. So, and if you go below the middle class, of course, that's, they're not making strides whatsoever. So those are things to think about when you start going out there and you start trying to figure out who you want to put in to Congress. I'm trying to put people who are, in my mind, I'm looking at people who are competent. I'm looking at people who have compassion, who are, not just focused on a party affiliation, but focused on what's right for America. That will, right now, I've never seen us in a position where we are perceived as so weak by the rest of the world as we are now. We are not perceived as strong. Trump can get out and tout that and rallies all he wants, but we are not. If you go out and talk to people from other places, and I do that. I mean, I talk to people from other countries. They don't see us that way, and I can understand why. So anyway, just some thought and some information for you to consider when you're going out there. We'll post some of this stuff on. I'm going to be doing some of these coffee talk shows for, different topic areas. And then I have my leadership talk show also that I'm going to reinstitute, which my next one, interestingly enough, is leadership going to be extinct. That will be on August 15th. And on my Facebook page, you can actually register for that webinar. We're going to talk about artificial intelligence and automation. Artificial intelligence impact it's having is having a big impact on the workforce right now. But artificial intelligence is not too far off to think that it could be having an impact on leadership roles. That's your manager and your VPs and people like that. Perhaps computers could make better strategic analysis and decisions than people could. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to talk about this and see some of the dynamics that are affecting how people are looking at how leaders are going to have to lead in the future on the 15th of August. So that should be a good show. You're certainly welcome to jump in there and register and come participate in that with me. So you have a good day. I will catch you later. Josh, Chris, thanks for joining me, listening to me. I'm going to be doing some of these periodically as we come up. I'll try to give much more notice than I have today. So until then, you guys have a great day, and I will see you later. And go get some coffee and enjoy yourself.